Bring us up to speed, Christopher.
Yeah, there's a few things since we last spoke, Michelle, to make you aware of. Jeremy Hunt is going to fight the next election, although he knows it'll be a very tight spot to win it down in Surrey. He had been thought that he would stand down at the election, but in some quarters he is fighting the election as the Chancellor alongside the Prime Minister. We're now hearing the detail of what will happen on the 24th of May. That's in 2 days' time. Parliament will be prorogued. That means it will no longer sit. On May the 30th, Parliament will be dissolved. The election on July the 4th. On the 9th of July, a new Parliament is formed and the new MPs are sworn on July the 17th. So the architecture of the next 2 months or so, with the election in between, has now been set out by the government. There's still some concern about why on earth the PM has called an election 6 months before he had to. The view is that he's trying to do it to try and get ahead of the feel-good factor, but some Tory MPs are not happy at all. I asked one MP, a blue-collar Tory, red-wall Tory MP, why has he done it? And he says simply he gave up. And he should have stepped aside. That's obviously a critic of Mr. Sunak. But others are equally don't understand why he's done it so early. They think it's madness because you're not allowing for a second budget in September, maybe two interest rate cuts by the Bank of England, net migration falling, illegal migration starting to be dealt with the Rwanda plan, falling inflation, a booming economy. And so on. There are other areas that could have worked for the PM. I mean, Labour advisors told me the same, but instead, in the rain, he's gone early. It's the biggest gamble I can remember by a sitting MP, by a sitting Prime Minister, and we'll see if it works.
Hope, thank you for bringing us up to speed. I can tell you there's huge reaction online, as you would expect. Nigel Farage, I mean, many people will be really pondering what his next move will be. He's tweeted out and said Rishi Sunak and his speech notes are both soaking wet outside number 10. It's the most farcical general election in history. There is a lot of focus on that kind of absolutely drenched Prime Minister. And some people might say, what a trivial thing to focus on, but actually, if you think about the optics of this, it really does not look great. You're not standing there. I mean, you look at him, and I'm not someone trying to get into personal attacks or something, but this is your moment. You're supposed to be galvanising a nation around you. You're supposed to be rallying the troops. You're supposed to be energising us and making us go, yes! Instead, I'm sat there going, oh, gosh, someone please give that fella an umbrella. And we're focusing on those kind of things instead. Now, Angela Rayner as well, she has tweeted out and she's saying it's time for a change, bring it on. But one of the things that I think is quite interesting, Luciana, is that many people will say to me that they say it in quite a crude way, which I'm not going to say, but what they would say is there's not much difference, really, between Labour and the Tories. So whilst it's great that Angela Rayner will suggest change, do you think there is much of a difference between the two main parties now?
Well, I don't know what Rishi Sunak and the government is proposing. As I understand, we don't have any plans. We got the plan from Rishi last year, of which he's failing on a number of those different points.
Let's get those five pledges up then, shall we? Because we've looked at, in brief at those 6 Labour ones. Let's look at the 5 Tory ones as well. We can put the spotlight on you, Mr Bailey, because, of course, his 5 pledges were to halve inflation. You know, a big fat tick on that one. Yeah, great. We're going to grow the economy. Well, that really hasn't gone well, has it? It's grown, what, 0.6% or something?
Fastest growing economy in Europe.
Yeah, but then people will say, well, how much did it fall in comparison to some of the other economies it's been compared to and its growth? Debt falling. Our debt is something like 100% of GDP at the moment. Waiting lists in the NHS, we've just been talking about those. You've got over 7 million people. These small births, I mean, we're just a laughingstock now. About 10,000 people this year alone, Shaun Bailey, have made that crossing. And many people will suggest that one of the reasons that Rishi Sunak's called this now is because he knows, hopefully if we're lucky anyway, that the sun imminently is about to shine and those crossings are going to go through the roof and he's lost control.
So there's 2 things I say about the small boats. those small boats, the political class in general has made that far harder for the PM to do anything about. It's absolutely been a failing, there's no doubt about that. But I wonder, would Labour have done anything different? Because they kept talking about safe and legal routes. What does that mean? Bigger numbers? We don't know. We need some detail there. Cutting inflation, he's definitely done well on that, and he needs to keep going. And I'd argue the cost of living is the single biggest issue in the country, so it's good that he's moving things on that. On the growth of the economy, we didn't sink as far as people said we would, and we've come back stronger than almost any other European nation. So I think he's done really well on that. Paying the debt off, I think, is a generational problem that's going to be hung around for quite a while. And the NHS waiting list as well, I would be lying if I said that was going well.
But why put it as one of your targets then? If you realise that debt is problematic, there's going to be some kind of multi-generational thing. Why have that as one of your...
But that's the prime difference between the Tories and Labour. You have to do what you have to do. It mightn't be pleasant, it mightn't be sexy, but it's necessary. If we don't start to pay that debt off now, we'll never pay it off. Remember the last time we had a great big debt, Labour fussed about us paying it off. Then when they got on board and realised you had to pay it off, they then said we weren't paying it off quick enough. It's these kind of tough but important decisions that he's been reasonably good at.
Well, I'd have to obviously challenge you on that. And you yourself, of course, have acknowledged on some of the points where Rishi and his government and the Conservatives are going backwards, where we've seen chaos on the specific pledges he made. Like he's staked, I think, his credibility and his future on these points that he made last year. So, this is not just like something he's done recently. He set these pledges and these commitments out. And on the majority of them, he's failing, or he's only just kind of been able to say, oh, well, the economy's growing. Let's not forget that we've been in recession times, that people are really struggling.
People are struggling, I'll accept that.
People are absolutely struggling.
We avoided the recession. You can't say we were in a recession when the stats say we weren't.
We were on stagnant growth, and we know from all of the figures in terms of what people are paying and what they're feeling in their pocket and what they're paying, particularly on their mortgages, when they're on fixed interest rates, created a problem created by this Conservative government that people are really
It happened throughout the world. The whole of Europe,
oh, come on,
the whole of the Anglosphere had. No, I know it's a nice narrative for you to get going.
No, come on. Why didn't Liz Truss only be? Why was she only in number 10?
Because you are very good campaigners and created a narrative that she had destroyed the economy.
We are all paying the price of Liz Truss. We are all paying the price.
And most importantly,
economic consequences of this country. We have 2 inept people at the top of this country.
Most importantly, Rishi has built that back. If he gets one thing right, I'd really like it to be interest rates, because that's the biggest impact across our economy. And he's working hard and he's getting it done.